to do, Carl, is to start off and have you introduce yourself, like when you were born and your parents and where you were born.
Well, I guess I was born in eastern Oregon,
Okay.
Meadows Valley, Powder River.
Powder River Valley in Oregon.
It's
Eagle Valley.
Eagle Valley.
Okay.
It's right over the hill from Halfway. A lot of people know Halfway that don't know.
And when were you born? What was your date of birth?
6/10/13.
6/10 of 13. And what was your parents' names?
Mrs. Shaver.
Mom and Dad, huh? Okay. And when did you come to Idaho? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. Well, I was born in Idaho.
Hmm.
No, I wasn't. I was born in Oregon.
Then you moved to Nampa when you were a little kid.
I was born in, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was born in Nampa.
No. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
You were born in Oregon, but you moved, the family moved to Nampa.
Yeah,
How old was he when he moved to Nampa?
I was 9.
About 9. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. When did you go to Meadows Valley?
Meadows Valley October 11th. What?
You got me. How old was Carl B? He was just a couple years old, wasn't
Yeah,
he? And he was born in,
Born in 34.
so about 36?
35.
35, he was born 35.
Okay. What
Poor,
did
poor little Meadows kids running around.
when you went to New Meadows, what was your purpose of going there? To
Make a living.
make a living?
Yeah.
What attracted you to Meadows Valley?
Well, I was in Donnelly, and Blake Hancock was B. Hancock Company, and it was in Meadows Valley, and he was a very popular merchant.
Mm-hmm.
But our people bought him out, and so I thought it was an opportunity to go over there, and it was.
So you started right in the grocery business,
I'd been in the grocery business
okay, in Donnelly.
in Donnelly Mercantile Company,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So when you first arrived to Meadows Valley, what was your first impression, do you feel, of the valley?
Oh, I've always been real impressed with Meadows Valley. I think it's one of the prettiest places I know of.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. It is a very beautiful place. When you came there, can you remember what the roads were like? Were they paved, dirt roads, trails?
It was mud, and roads were springy. Kenny Johnston and I were on the city council,
Okay.
so we hauled in rocks. Gravel, it's supposed to be gravel, it is just rocks. And You know, Clinton got impeached, and we just about got impeached. Those rocks were upright. But once we got more gravel on top of them, why, it was fine.
It was fine then, huh?
Yeah.
Where did you have to get the rocks from?
Lord almighty, I don't know.
Okay,
I think we got them out there from Andy Mitchell.
okay.
That goes back a ways, you know, nobody knows the Mitchells anymore, I don't suppose.
Yeah.
I do.
Paul Mitchell,
Mhm.
but Sam was a great guy.
And I've heard the name Sam Mitchell, related to Andy Mitchell. Was that his father?
Brother.
Brother, okay. All right. So when you came there in the mid-30s, late 30s, what was the population like in Meadows Valley?
Well, it's probably the same or more than right now.
Didn't change too much then? Okay. Let's talk about the businesses there along Main Street where you had your store. Can you tell me where your store first was?
Excuse me. You know, it's not anything to brag about being so old, but it's nothing to brag about, but it's not to be, shouldn't be apologized for either. If I live to be the 10th of the month, I'll be 99, or is it 90? Yeah,
Yeah,
99.
99.
On the 10th of May?
June,
June.
I'll be 99.
Was the store exactly where the store is now? Or was it across the street, or?
It's across the street,
Yeah.
and Calendar had the store where we are now.
Okay. All right.
What was that guy's name that managed the store? The thieves were in the middle of the street there, and then,
Okay.
but
Do you remember any other businesses right in that area?
Davenport was down on the corner.
Okay. And what kind of business did Davenport have?
They had the stage office there, and they had a cafe. I remember they used to pick huckleberries,
Really?
$2 a gallon.
Wow, I don't think you're gonna get them for that price now.
Oh, have they gone up?
Yeah, just a little bit. Uh-huh. Did you get to do lots of huckleberrying when you were up there?
No, I didn't have time.
You was being a businessman. Mhm. Okay,
We were across the street where the LDS bought their building. That they left over to Hall.
okay. And then later you moved across the street. Do you remember about when you moved across the street?
Yeah, that was, see, we lived there at 36, and I think we moved across the street at about 39.
Okay. great. Yeah.
I bought the building. It was an interesting thing. You know, here were two grown men. Both of them well-educated fellows. One was an attorney. J.F. Martin. And the other was Frank Callender. And they'd been in Cascade. They'd been fast friends in Cascade, and they had a big falling out. And they wouldn't speak to each other. If you can imagine, grown men wouldn't speak. So we sat down at the Davenport restaurant, I think it was. And one of them would speak, and then I'd repeat it. That's the hardest thing I ever heard of in my life.
Mm-hmm.
They sure did.
But did they start speaking later? Did you get it all mended?
Mended, I was careful not to be, I didn't mend my health with them.
Uh-huh. Well, if we go back to looking at your store, did you remodel your store through the years, the front of it?
Yes,
Okay, and do you remember how many times you might have remodeled it? On the outside or inside?
it's been a work in progress.
Work in progress, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Never completed then, huh? Always ready to do something new.
You even had caskets in the back room.
Oh, we had, we did them from the cradle to the grave.
Okay. From the cradle to the grave.
Yeah,
Baby furniture to caskets?
we had caskets in the warehouse. And we had, one, there's a county case,
Mm-hmm.
$35. And so we had some good ones too, some nice. But that one was just a box, you know.
Just a pine box, huh?
Well, it was pleased up a little bit, but
Mm-hmm. How long did you have the caskets there? Time frame, I mean, like from the time you started to when you might have left, or
probably 10 years,
about 10 years?
yeah.
Well, that probably would have great significance, because I'm not sure how many other stores sold caskets at the same time.
We deliver groceries in an old pickup in the morning and use that as a hearse for the afternoon if you had a funeral.
Did you deliver a lot of groceries around town, or?
Yeah, we did, yes, we delivered in those days. That's a real headache.
Yeah. So did you deliver just in town, or did you go out to the outlying ranches and
No,
people?
just in town.
Just in town, okay. What kind of, we've already talked about caskets, what other kind of, I remember as a child growing up that there was also the dry goods part in the store.
Oh, yes.
What kind of merchandise did you sell in the dry goods area for the people of the valley?
Well, it's just a general store, you see, and so you sold whatever they needed.
I remember fabric and patterns and
Yeah,
tennis shoes for sports.
Pots and pans, probably.
Pants and shirts, yeah.
Levi's,
Mhm. How did you get the merchandise into the store? How was it delivered?
Well, groceries came up from Mountain States Wholesale once a week,
Once a week?
a truck,
And Mountain States Wholesale, was that here in Boise?
once a yes.
Boise going to New Meadows, okay.
And that was Whitey drove that truck and he was there ever. And then we also had produce came once a week. And we used a lot of eggs. Farmers had a lot of eggs.
And they brought them into the store?
Yeah, we bought the eggs. And that was a nuisance because some of those people would put eggs down in a bucket of grain. Then you try to get them out. Stick your hand.
You'd have grain all over the place.
Broken eggs.
And broken eggs, huh?
That's called having egg on the face.
Okay. Besides eggs that you bought from other people in the valley, did you buy other produce or commodities?
We, on occasion, would buy some beef. I didn't want to buy too big a beef. But it's been so long, I've kind of forgotten the guy that was Jack Soden. Remember Jack Soden?
Yep. Yep. Soden's Meat Market.
And she was one tough gal.
What can you tell me about her?
I'd rather forget her.
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
Bet, he was your best friend, wasn't it, Carl?
Well, you know, Kenny Johnson and I worked together an awful lot. And we had got to the airport.
This is when you were working with Kenny when you were a councilman or on city council, or?
Well, yeah, but then whatever went on,
You and Kenny worked it out.
we did it.
Okay.
And got an airport. Chet Moulton was the director of aeronautics for the state of Idaho. And he would he'd come there to the back of the store and take a look, and he'd show me the clouds and all down toward Riggins. And he'd say, "No, this is what I'm looking for, whether it's safe or not." So,
Well, why were you and Kenny wanting to get an airport in Meadows Valley?
we thought all the cities had them, so we better get one.
Bring us up to date, huh?
We had airport in what was Soden's, Mrs. Soden, what was her name?
Do you happen to know Mrs. Soden's name?
I don't think of it in a minute. I don't know how I could forget. What was her name?
Well, like Kay said, I want to
Soden.
forget her.
She must have been
Mrs.
infamous.
Soden.
Mrs.
Alice?
Soden.
Alice.
Alice?
Alice.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, she was over there, and we had this airport,
Oh,
and by golly, she claimed that it was on her property,
uh-huh.
and she put a fence, barbed wire fence across the thing. Well, that's not very conducive to landing a small plane against the fence, you know. So, Carl Swedstrom was the prosecuting attorney,
Okay.
and I was the mayor of the town at the time. So, we went over there to see about this fence on the airport. And Alice came up there with a rifle on her scabbard in on the saddle. And she just pulled up the rifle and said, "You guys get off my property or I'll lay you down right here." Well, Swanstrom and I were in the mood to negotiate.
So you minded her, huh?
We sure did.
So how long were you mayor?
8 years.
8 years. Can you tell me some maybe things that you might have done through that career when you were mayor? Or something that might have happened?
Well, we got the first employee of the city,
Okay.
Roberta's dad. Right?
Right.
Heber.
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 Rich.
Heber Rich, okay.
Heber Rich.
And what was his job?
Believe me, it'd take a couple pages to,
To do it?
whatever needed done, he did it.
His job description was jack of all trades.
You do it.
There, okay?
And he was good. And a nice man.
Great. How about the city government as far as on being mayor? Did you run by a city council? Were you were we still a village? The city of, wasn't the city of Meadows, was it the village of New Meadows or the city of New Meadows?
Well, it's a city, but we got incorporated.
Okay.
I'm not sure that just how that works. I don't know whether it makes a village can be incorporated, I think. Also, at the time, they had, wanted to sell booze. And trying to think. Anyway, got the bright idea that we could run a foot wide strip incorporated into the town,
Okay.
that we could sell booze from Riggins. Incidentally, Riggins was gouge eye.
Oh, it was?
Call
I
it
didn't know that.
gouge eye.
Yeah, gouge eye, okay.
More than one eye been gouged out in,
In Rick's?
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
But Heber was the go-to guy.
The go-to guy. Whatever needed to be done with
Whatever
roads
needed
or
to be
whatever,
done, he did it.
he did it. Well, that's good to have somebody. Do you remember some of the people that you might have had employed with your store?
Kenny Pippin.
Kitty Flippin, okay.
Pippin.
Okay.
And who's Tommy Carr married to?
Darlene?
No, that
No.
was Darlene's mother. Can't remember her name. Darlene White's mother was married to Tommy Carr.
And the lady that ran the,
Wasn't Lorraine?
Might have been.
Lorraine?
No, that was the second one.
That's his name, okay.
the lady who ran the phone thing. She also was the liquor store.
That been Gilderoy?
Mark Gilroy ran it, but before her was,
Well, she can really keep track of things. I was down at Boise quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and she knew where I was at all times. And she'd run me down wherever I was.
So she could get things handled, huh?
She'd get things done. She really did.
you remember Lucille Dillon?
Beg pardon?
Lucille Dillon worked for you?
Who?
Lucille Dillon?
Oh, yes,
And my mother, Ione Rich,
yeah.
and Mrs. Whitlow.
Mrs. Whitlow, that was quite a story. They were so poor, it was pitiful. And they were building a house with, it just was lumber,
Mm-hmm.
but the chimney up and no protection. And I was down there and I said, good gracious, this won't work. You're just asking to burn it down.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, we'll get Lake Hancock to put insurance on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this chimney built with brick. About that time, she wanted to go to work, and she never had any confidence. She was afraid of everything. I said, you know the people that's working here, the other people, you know, they're all friends, and we'll teach you how. So, by golly, she became a great lady, good help,
Great,
yeah.
great. Can you think of some of the most biggest obstacles you might have had in your career?
Me.
Yeah, or those field boys?
Mouse, how's the mouse?
Yeah,
You still going?
yeah, yeah. Tom, he lives over at Cottages there in McCall at the assistant living care there. he's in pretty poor shape. He's had about 4 strokes.
Mouse was over at,
I called him Mouse. That's my oldest brother.
M-O-U-S-E.
Yeah.
What would have been one of the best things that happened in your career?
well, I had 3 successful marriages.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mhm. Can you think of some of the other businesses that might have been around there through the time?
Well, Calendar was across the street
Okay.
where we are now,
hmm
with a brick building or stone. And I think I told you that between Calendar and,
Martin?
yeah,
hmm
they wouldn't speak to each other.
Yeah.
You imagine 2 educated men that wouldn't even, literally, they'd say something and I'd repeat it.
Hmm. Was there a lot of gas stations in town?
Kenny Johnson had one there on the corner. And Ansel McDougal. Ansel was down there where the corners goes down to the depot.
Okay.
So there were 2 stations, and then Miller, well, the name of Mr. Miller,
hmm
had a station up.
Well, as a businessman, I'm sure that you had people coming in all the time and you would hear different stories about the history of different things that might have happened in the valley. What would you say is one of the most unusual things that ever happened in Meadows Valley?
Well, one of them was a guy that, pretty sad thing, he was his wife and baby down there at Black Bear Inn. It's not a Black Bear Inn anymore, but it's
Mhm.
Round Valley,
Right?
Circle C Round Valley. And by golly, he walked out in the middle of the area and drowned himself. Drowned all 3 of them.
Oh my goodness.
That was a pretty sad thing.
Do you remember about when that happened, year-wise or anything?
Well, I expect it's about 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember hearing stories about the elk being shipped into the valley?
Yes.
What can you tell me about that?
Well, they were there when I came. That was a sad thing, in my opinion, because they were up to Dry Creek.
Mud Creek?
Mud Creek.
Mud Creek?
Mud Creek. And they had done very, very well. And they were just a slug up them. And by golly, they opened that up and just had a complete slaughter.
Oh, for hunting season? Opened it
Yeah.
up for hunting season?
Uh-huh. That was sad.
Mhm.
Because they really slaughtered them.
Do you remember peas being grown in the valley?
Excuse me?
Sweet peas? Peas?
Yeah. And strawberries, that was before my time, just a year or two before.
Mm-hmm.
Strawberries and peas, but in Long Valley, Donnelly, over there is where they grew some many peas.
Mm-hmm. Were they grown what? Do you remember the location about where they were grown in Meadows Valley?
Well, I think they stopped that
Stopped it.
about the time I moved there.
Okay. Yeah.
But what they did, we didn't have electricity
Okay.
in Long Valley. We didn't have electricity in Donnelly,
Okay.
and there in New Meadows, we need your dad here, Roberta. But there was a lady and her son,
McCully, Mrs. McCully,
I think so.
and Mr. Irick.
They had a plant to make electricity.
Did they bring the electricity clear into the town?
Yeah, sort of. Mr. Miller had that station there. It's going over toward Hampshire's.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay. Do you ever remember the circus coming to town?
yeah, we had 3 elephants. They brought them all down there to our house to water.
Why to your house? You had your own well?
Yeah, we had
The pasture, maybe?
no, they didn't, they had a pasture, but they didn't use that.
Yeah.
Just wanted water.
Where was your house at?
Right across from the post office.
Okay.
Wait a minute, not the post office. What was the post office once?
The old post
The
office,
old bank building,
the old bank building, okay.
yeah,
IOOF
that's right.
building.
Okay. Do you remember any of the dairies in the valley?
We only had one really dairy, and that was down there by the hot springs. And
That Wilkie's?
Wilkie's? Is that what you think?
Did Wilkie's have a dairy there?
that's correct,
Okay.
that's correct. See, I'm getting all sorts of help here.
Do you remember Buholtz, if they had a dairy?
Schools, yeah,
And Waddell?
Waddell did, yes.
Okay. Was Joe Cahaw, did he have his cream station?
Cahaw, yes.
Okay, during your time there? When did you leave Meadows Valley?
I went directly from New Meadows to New York City.
You did? And what were you doing in New York City? That's quite a distance for us.
Invited and setting up connections.
Mhm.
Kaha was, who was the guy that worked for Kaha?
Glenn Carlock? Glenn Carlock?
Oh, yeah, he did, but
Somebody else?
the older fellow, he had some exotic poultry.
Standley, Parrot?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
Do you remember what kind of poultry or birds that he had?
Oh, just some funny colored ones,
Just all different colors.
yeah.
Peacocks.
Oh,
Incidentally, Mary and I were, where did we see the fighting roosters?
oh, Mazatlan.
That in Mazatlan, Mexico. And they had 2,500 of these fighting roosters,
My goodness.
and they are beautiful.
They were gorgeous birds.
And they were all, they had a little,
Teepee. Concrete teepees, and each one was staked to their teepee so they couldn't get to each other.
they were
But it
tethered,
just was on and on and on.
they were tethered to there,
Mm-hmm.
and what they did, they were supplying them to the fighting trade.
Hmm.
It's kind of a hideous profession.
Yeah.
They took a couple of those guys and showed us to just put them up close to each other. Not where they could hit each other, but where, boy,
Close enough to make each other irate.
oh yes.
Yeah.
And see, they put them with spurs on. They have these spurs that are about that long,
Mm.
and they fight to the death.
Well, I guess that would be a sport to some people. Yeah. Do you remember the fire department of how it might have changed in Meadows Valley?
Fire department,
Did we have one?
yeah, we had an old trailer with a hose.
What was the trailer like?
Oh, just an old wooden trailer, wood. And the fire department was, we blew the siren. Whoever could get there with a car with a trailer hitch and hook onto that trailer and haul it down to somewhere.
To wherever the fire is? Yeah.
And we had 3 houses down there by the, actually about where the school, the new school is now. I say new, how old is that school?
Built in 1970?
Moved in 1970.
Yeah.
So it's like I am, it's not so new anymore.
It still works though, so we're okay.
Still works, yeah.
Still works. So, we're good.
But you go, we had these 3 houses, and one burned, and other than the 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, all just sit there and burn down. As you get there, they had the hose and so on, but that didn't even face it.
So was there water lines in the city at this time?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Any other big fires that you can think of that might have happened?
That was was quite dramatic. I remember that one pretty well.
Do you remember any of the doctors that were around in the valley?
Dr. Thurston
Okay.
and
Where was his office?
council.
Council? And then he came to New Meadows or Meadows Valley at different
He
times?
came, yeah, once a week.
Once a week? Did he make house calls or?
No.
Okay. People came to him?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about the banks in the valley? Do you remember any of the banks that were there?
Well, we didn't have a bank.
Okay. All right.
Balquet Bank was in council. And did you get home with that glass you don't have it repaired?
Glass,
Down in council one day at the bank and fellow named Herman Welker was a banker. And he said, Carl, let me show you something here. And he had these $10 gold note, the yellow on one side, green on the other.
My goodness.
And he said, this guy up Hornet Creek had these. He died, and he had 10 of those, and I said, that's just fine, I'll take them all. He said, no, you won't, but you can have one if you want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I paid him $10 and took the one. And I had it framed with glass.
I've got it. I got the glass yesterday. We'll get it back together again. I bumped it and knocked it off and broke the glass.
But it's a gold note.
Wow.
And see, you could take that in and demand gold for it.
Oh my goodness. You know, Meadows Valley is really rich in its heritage with ranching and with logging. How do you feel that logging changed the economy in Meadows Valley?
Oh, there's no question about it.
Okay. Can you think of things that maybe J.I. Morgan might have done for the community?
Jack was a great guy. He had his oddities.
We all do.
One was he'd go to a bar or a hotel and trash a room, just trash it.
Oh my goodness.
You can imagine that.
Yeah,
Kind of expensive, fun.
yeah. What about the ranching community in the valley?
Excuse me?
What about the ranching community in the valley?
Well, actually, Circle C had the largest shipment that the Union Pacific had ever hauled. They had over 3,000 head of beef.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing on that is Raleigh Campbell, Raleigh and I were good friends. I see Dave Campbell, did you notice his obit in the paper?
Yes, we did.
His mother was superintendent of education for Idaho. Allen was her last name. And we're up in cow camp, deer hunting. Soden said that Dave was there, about 12 years old. He said, Dave, with your connections and all, you could write your own ticket in the education department. And who the hell would want to be a school man when you could be a cowboy?
It's pretty good when you're 12, huh?
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have any questions that you would like to bring up that we can ask him?
I was wondering who all managed your stores, or you managed it initially, right? And then when did Don Bose come into the picture for?
Don Bose was working for a distributor. And he was on a truck, and he'd be in Meadows Thursday, I think, over the weekend, or that is, for the rest of the week. And so, that's when he got acquainted with Lita.
Okay.
Don was a great guy.
Yeah.
Like Ward Brown said, Don eats too much, drinks too much. He's still the best mayor that McCall ever had.
Okay. Anything else?
He got too much to drink, and so New Year's. So he kind of improvised the conversation on their way home. Went along and Jim Bays was state police. And Jim said, Don, you're too drunk to drive. And Don, he says, you're right. Let Lita drive. So Don got out of the car, fell on the ground. Lita got out of the car and fell right behind him. So the conversation was sort of, well, I think we're kind of drunk to be walking. Just like the old judge said, I'm too drunk to drive. I'll have to walk. So there they went. Lita's daughter, you know her?
Mm-hmm. Shannon?
Mm-hmm.
Shannon.
Fauci, is it her?
Fauci, yeah.
Yeah, she's watercolorist. quite an artist, I think.
She is a very good artist.
Well, she's quite an artist, yeah,
Yeah.
and an insurance broker.
Oh,
Hmm. Thought she was doing realty now.
That's right, I'm confusing
Yeah,
that broker
yeah,
business with
yeah.
another party.
She's a realtor now.
She's a realtor.
okay.
She says, you know, I'm Uncle Carl. She says, I was grown before I knew you weren't my blood uncle.
Mhm.
Do you remember when they started the hot lunch program in the school? Didn't they fix some of the food in your store?
Georgia she started that.
Georgia Waddell.
His first
Shaver.
wife, George
Shaver.
Shaver. Uh-huh.
Okay.
She and, well, we hired a cook, and Mrs., an older lady, I just don't recall her name.
Mrs. Richmond.
Richmond? Richmond?
Yeah,
We called her Grandma Richmond.
that's right, Graham Richmond.
Yeah.
Graham Richmond wasn't known for her cleanliness.
She was a darn good cook.
Stop.
Best hot lunches we ever.
So when they cooked these meals in the store, then they took them to the school? Is that what they?
I'm
No.
not, you did a lot of canning. Didn't you can peaches and,
Excuse me?
didn't you can fruit and
Yeah, I think they did.
for the hot lunch
Yeah.
program? And I think they fixed it in the store where they had
Maybe they
access
did.
to a cooler and,
Okay.
yeah. Because most of the food at the hot lunch was donated or purchased from, I mean, we didn't have the program we have now for hot lunch program, you know, for food. So it was all, wasn't it all pretty basically from homes, the food?
Say it.
The food that they used in the hot lunch program, didn't it basically come from people in New Meadows and, you remember?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe so. But we bought appliances, you know. Set it up, got a pretty good thing running there.
Okay.
And I mentioned about Alice Soden
Yeah.
on the fence.
Yes.
The prosecuting attorney and the mayor made a hasty retreat.
Well, I can't think of any other questions to ask. Mary, do you have anything that maybe you want to add that maybe he shared with you through the time or anything?
You did a pretty good job. Nothing I can think of at the moment. I'll think of something later and go, darn.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, one of the smartest things we did is when we hired Roberta's dad.
For the city?
He was the first employee of the town. Jack Soden called me one day and said, oh, we got a fire and a death down at Goodrich. We best get down there in the morning.
Was that when you were the coroner?
Yeah.
So you were the coroner?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And how long were you the coroner?
But there hangs a tail.